The hum of the hard drive was the only sound in my study, a low, constant companion to the rhythm of my own breathing. On the screen, my wife, Sarah, smiled back at me. It wasn't a single smile, but thousands of them, a mosaic of moments meticulously captured and curated over a decade. I called the collection the Sarah Chronicles, a digital testament to the woman I thought I knew better than myself. I was a photographer, and she was my muse. Every photo told a story. Sarah laughing with flour on her nose from a failed baking attempt. Sarah asleep with a book on her chest. Sarah looking out at the ocean, her hair a wild halo in the sea breeze. I loved every pixel of her, especially the details. The way one eyebrow arched slightly higher than the other when she was skeptical, the constellation of freckles across her shoulders, and the locket, the intricate antique silver locket I'd given her on our first anniversary. She never, ever took it off. It was as much a part of her as her laugh or the scent of lavender that always clung to her skin. It was our symbol, a tiny silver heart she wore over her own. Lately, however, the smiles on the screen felt brighter than the ones I was getting in person. A subtle shift had occurred, a change in atmospheric pressure I couldn't quite pinpoint. Sarah had become more opaque. Her phone, once a casual accessory, was now an extension of her hand, angled away from me with a practiced defensiveness. Late nights at the office became more frequent, explained away with sighs about a demanding new project. When I tried to hug her, she'd feel stiff, her embrace fleeting. I chalked it up to stress. We'd been together for 10 years. Ebbs and flows were natural. I was just being paranoid, my creative mind conjuring drama where there was none. To combat my own insecurity, I decided to do something grand for our upcoming anniversary. I would compile the best photos from the Sarah Chronicles into a breathtaking slideshow, a visual journey of our love set to the song we first danced to. It would be my way of reminding us of the foundation we'd built, a foundation I believed was unshakable. My best friend, Mark, thought it was a brilliant idea. "Mate, she'll love it," he'd said, clapping me on the shoulder when I told him over a beer. "You've always been the romantic one." Mark had been my rock since college. He was the best man at our wedding, the godfather to our hypothetical children, the one who helped me move furniture and listened to me rant about impossible clients. He and Sarah got along famously, a comfortable, easy friendship I'd always cherished. They had inside jokes, shared a love for bad sci-fi movies. It was perfect. My wife and my best friend were friends. It made our little world feel complete and secure. I spent weeks poring over the photos, thousands of them, each one a memory I could taste and feel. I selected the best 100, arranging them chronologically, a digital flipbook of our life.
The final photo was my masterpiece. I'd taken it just a few months ago, during a weekend getaway. It was a candid shot, a 50-megapixel RAW file brimming with detail. Sarah was laughing, head thrown back, a genuine, uninhibited laugh that made my heart ache with love. The late afternoon sun caught the silver of her locket, making it gleam against her skin. This, I decided, would be the final, triumphant image of the slideshow. It needed to be perfect. I opened the file in my editing software, the image filling my 32-inch monitor. The clarity was incredible. I could see the individual strands of her hair, the light in her eyes, the fine lines of her laughter. I started my process, adjusting the color balance, sharpening the focus. My eyes scanned the image for imperfections. I noticed a tiny piece of lint on her sweater and zoomed in to digitally remove it. My cursor slipped, dragging the magnification tool across the screen, past her shoulder, past her neck, and landing squarely on the locket. The image refocused, now magnified by 800%. My breath caught in my throat. It was just a fluke of the moment the shutter clicked, a fraction of a second in time, frozen forever. The locket, usually snapped securely shut, was slightly ajar. A millimeter, maybe 2. A tiny sliver of its inner world was visible. My heart began to thud, a heavy, painful drumbeat in my chest. Inside the locket were 2 tiny frames for photos. On the left, I knew, was the picture of me I had put there a decade ago. But on the right, it wasn't empty. Through the tiny gap, I could see a sliver of another photograph. A chin, the corner of a familiar, smug smile, a part of a blue shirt I recognized. A cold dread,
slick and oily, washed over me. No, it couldn't be. It was a trick of the light, a digital artifact. I held my breath and scrolled through the timeline, looking for another photo from that day, one where the locket was closed, to prove my mind was playing tricks on me. But there weren't none this close, this clear. My hands trembled as I navigated back to the main folder. The Sarah Chronicles. My finger hovered over the mouse. I started opening other recent high-resolution photos. A birthday party from 2 months ago. A selfie she'd asked me to take a month prior. Each time I zoomed in, my search now frantic, obsessive. In every sharp, clear photo of her from the last year, if the angle was just right, I could see it. The locket was always perfectly closed, a silver secret on her chest. But the knowledge of what it held had recontextualized everything. Her secretive texts, her late nights, her distance. It wasn't stress. It was a person, and I knew who it was. The blue shirt in the photo. Mark had worn it to our last barbecue. The realization didn't come like a lightning strike. It was more like drowning, a slow, crushing pressure as the truth filled my lungs, expelling all the air, all the life. The proof hadn't been in a suspicious text or a lipstick-stained collar. It had been right here on my own hard drive for months. I had looked at these photos, edited them, admired them, and the entire time, the evidence of my wife's betrayal and my best friend's treachery was smiling back at me from a tiny silver frame hidden in plain sight. For 2 days, I was a ghost in my own home. I said nothing. I went through the motions, watching Sarah, watching the locket rise and fall with her every breath. It was a testament to her audacity, wearing his face over her heart right in front of me. The anniversary was the next day. My plan for a romantic slideshow now felt like a cruel joke, but I decided to go through with it, with one significant alteration. I spent that night not curating a love story, but preparing an execution. I took the photo, and isolated the locket. I blew it up, sharpening the image until every pixel screamed betrayal. I printed it on a massive canvas, 3 feet by 4 feet. The tiny hidden picture of Mark was now a grotesque, smiling centerpiece. On the evening of our anniversary, Sarah came home to a house filled with candles. She smiled, relieved. "Oh, honey, you remembered." "I could never forget," I said, my voice hollow. I led her to the living room, where the canvas was propped against the wall, covered by a sheet. "I made you something," I told her, the culmination of the Sarah Chronicles. Her eyes lit up, expecting the slideshow I had mentioned. I pulled the sheet away. Silence. The air thickened, became heavy and unbreathable. She stared at the canvas, her face draining of all color. She saw it, the locket, his face. Her hand flew to her neck, clutching the real locket, the source of the damning evidence. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. The only noise was a soft, guttural sob that escaped her lips as her knees gave way. She crumbled to the floor, her perfect, curated life shattering around her. She confessed everything through a torrent of tears. It had been going on for nearly 2 years. Mark, my best friend. The late nights weren't projects, they were him. The secretive texts were his. The inside jokes I'd felt excluded from were born from their shared secret. The locket had been her idea, a sick, sentimental trophy. She'd swapped my picture for his over a year ago, a secret thrill, a way to keep him close. The confrontation wasn't loud or violent. It was a quiet, devastating autopsy of our marriage. By the time the sun rose, she was gone. Mark's number was blocked, his existence erased from my phone. He never tried to call. Now the house is just a house. The silence is no longer peaceful. It's empty. I sit here, in my study, in front of the same monitor. The Sarah Chronicles is still open, my monument to a lie. I move the cursor to the folder, my finger hovering over the delete key. 10 years of memories, 10 years of my life's work, tainted beyond repair. I click on the first photo. A young Sarah, before the locket, before Mark, her smile genuine and meant only for me. For a moment, I hesitate, but this person is a stranger. The life we built was a mirage. With a final, shuddering breath, I press delete. I watch as the photos vanish, one by one, until the screen is blank. Wiping away the chronicles of a love I thought was real is the only way I can begin to write my own story again.